Hello. It's 4:14 or 14:14, depending on which part of the world you're in. Of course. Those numbers have been coming through so strongly lately. 1s and 4s, combinations. And I wanted to take a few moments and I've noticed in the past few transmissions there's been these like longer pauses. And so I feel like whatever collective I'm tuning into, including myself, there seems to be this cultivation of stillness and declutter. Stillness and declutter. So whether this is decluttering mentally, emotionally, physically, a physical space, your body, different layers of your body, none of the above, all of the above, this is sort of where this transmission is going. And I just took a breath in and I could feel this like tightness in the chest. Last night, I would say, all of a sudden I just started to feel this like overwhelming stress on my body. And I feel like I have been really tuning into my body and taking it easy. So I was kind of surprised, like, where is this coming from? I didn't realize it happened to be a full moon last night, so I'm sure that was part of it. But still, it felt like something was coming to the surface, and I am in no way suggesting anyone do anything that they don't want to do. This is just what's coming up, so take it like how it would work for you, and if not, that's okay. But for me, personally, I have been feeling a call to do a longer fast for a little while now, and well, for me, longer. If you're like an avid faster, it may not be long for you. And so I'm bringing this up because there were different moments over like the last however long where I wanted to fast, but it just didn't feel like the right time. Or I was doing different types of, I'm going to call it like decluttering. So my body has been calling for different things at different times. I remember at one point I was feeling called to do intermittent fasting for like a week straight, like a little bit more disciplined than I usually am with my schedule. And it's what I needed at the time, and it truly did. It helped me a lot. And then I did like a 24-hour fast maybe like 2 months ago. I've been playing with intermittent fasting. I'm not really strict about it, but I let my body just kind of guide me. And yeah, then all of a sudden I just kept getting this ping, excuse me, to focus on like decluttering and autophagy and cellular renewal. So I think I've been fasting now for like about 16 hours, and just water fasting. I do have these patches that my mom gave me, NAD patches, so I'm sleeping with, I'm gonna sleep with those on, but that's it. Anyway, so I'm not sure how long I'm going to do. Maybe I'm trying to do at least 72 hours. My goal is 77. I think my longest fast was like 56 hours-ish. So, yeah. And I'm just sharing this because I'm not really sure why. This is just what I'm being guided to share. I also have a honey mask. I just put some honey on my face, and someone, I don't know who it was, I saw them online somewhere at some point, was saying like, so when I get out of the shower, I like to put on like oil or whatever, you know, to hydrate my skin. I like my skin. I'm very like into my skin being like lubricated. So if you ever notice when you get out of the shower, maybe some of you already do this, but there was something about like this person that I found saying like, if you put anything that you put on your skin, at least most things, when your skin is wet, it absorbs it better. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like sometimes intuitively I would just like wet my face and do it. So I've been more active about that. And with the honey, I wet my face and kind of like rub the honey together and put it on my face in layers. I've been doing that. And then I went out to sit in the sun. And as I was like breathing and just sort of observing, I was slightly going into meditation. I wasn't like 100% I'm meditating, but I was kind of going in and out of meditation. Open eye, closed eye, moving my arms around and just whatever my body needed. And when the sun hit my face with the honey, there was just this like moment of like tightness I could feel in my skin. My skin was like literally tightening. And once I was quiet for a little bit longer, the birds just got so much more loud. And then all of a sudden, so I'm like staying at this place where you can oversee the main road. And it was like all noise stopped except the birds. Like there were still cars going, nothing had changed, but I was just in the state of like complete stillness. And if you've ever microdosed or taken anything that activates your DMT and or also and are getting the spaces just in from your breath and meditation in the sun or however you do it, I could see like planes, and this happens quite often, all the time, but there was something about this moment of stillness where I could see these like multiple planes of like dimensional planes. Like I just looked, and it was specifically when I looked to my left. There was something about when I looked to my left, I could just see these like, dimensional planes is the best way I could describe it, with, this like blue energy. And I would say the last few days, in particular, I've been experiencing even more than usual, I'll say movement of the veil. No, I don't know if it's movement of the veil. There's more activity in my aura. Like I can perceive more than usual, which I am someone who's pretty on almost all the time and always perceiving things. Like it's never really off, even when I'm sleeping. But there's like even an expansion within that. So I feel like the collective here is also going through something similar. Even if it's not exactly what I'm speaking of, it feels like there is some sort of like an inner planes integration that's expanding your perception in some way. With this also, it really feels like I paused. The sun came back out and I wanted to get a little bit more sun on the balcony. Okay, so I was speaking about this expansion and something else that I wanted to tie in, because when I was, oh my gosh, a bird just flew literally so close to my face. This has been, that was so fun. I'm talking like any closer, I probably would have smacked me in the face. It was so fast. I think it was like a bluish color, and I was just talking about blue. Ooh, and the wind just picked up. Yeah, so I was speaking about how last night and this morning, all of a sudden I could just feel this increase of stress in my body. Someone here may be like reading about oxidative stress, because I just heard that in my head. But I just like woke up and was like, okay, I think it's time for me to do this fast that I've been wanting to do, as like a spring cleaning. We're about to enter spring, and I kept seeing and feeling energetic references to Scorpio. It just kept coming up, and I didn't realize until today maybe that last night was a Scorpio full moon, so that makes sense. But yeah, something about going back in for a deep dive in some way. Even if you're someone who has done so much deep diving, it just feels like this time of, and however that looks for you, for some of you it may just be something a bit like morning pages, journaling, however it comes up. I'm seeing someone do like Muay Thai or like Jiu-Jitsu or some sort of like really intense something really intensely physical. That is not where I'm at right now, but if that's where you're at, that's amazing. Anyway, there's also something I've noticed my mind start to, like talk myself out of why I should not be fasting. And I just kind of sat with it, and I was reminding myself how much like discipline and strength these things take, but also like softness and vulnerability. Like, this is something that I feel very deeply that would benefit me right now, and I can talk myself out of it if I want to, or I can just continue with it, and if I feel like I need some food, then I will eat. It's that simple. And I actually feel really great right now. So yeah. Let's see. And I know there's so many like schools of thought on fasting, and it can be really overwhelming and confusing, or really any body practice. And there's been someone who has popped up on my feed recently who talks a lot about mitochondrial health and like the electricity and recircuitry of the body. There's actually been a few different people, but one person in particular that I'm thinking of. Anyway, so yeah, if you've been already like interested in that, or that's something that interests you, this is not at all anything that I'm again suggesting anyone should do. Not at all. This is just an energetic transmission of how things are coming up. And when I could feel that ramping up of the collective, especially since it was this full moon, apparently, I never heard this before, but I read right after I decided to fast, something popped up on my feed about fasting during a full moon, like before and after. That's supposed to be like most effective for like decluttering the body in some way, especially like parasitically. So I found that very interesting. I literally never heard that, because it was speaking about how like the moon affects like the tides and the water, and like your body's made of water, so it's like a similar thing. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. So yesterday, 13:31 and 13:33 on the timer, I just noticed. I keep seeing black cordless phones. Does anyone remember cordless phones? That's just been coming up. I'm not sure what that's trying to show symbolically, but I just heard something about the past, obviously, because they're from the past. And there's also something about a 7-year cycle. I think it was yesterday I was talking about like a 9-10 year cycle, and now there's something about 7 years. Allegedly, the body recycles its cells every 7 years, and I'm like really focused on cellular health right now. So yeah, it does feel like there is mitochondrial and cellular health. So interpersonal relationships have also been coming up very strongly. In Patreon the other day, contract renewal was coming through, relationship contracts. So in all areas of life. So you could be having like dreams, meditations, telepathic conversations, finding old photos. Like there could be like different reviews kind of coming up energetically. And again, like a decluttering spring. If you're finding this not in spring, it doesn't have to be spring, but right now it's spring when I'm recording it. So it has the energy of that, you know, spring cleaning, reassessing. And with any contract, you know, like soul contracts, contracts in general, sometimes they are up and that's it. The contract is over. Sometimes they need to be renewed. Sometimes they're doing great and you just have to re-sign and say, okay, everything's going good. Let's check in, you know? So it's not necessarily get rid of everything. It's more of just like a review process, seeing what is still working and what is not. That was coming up really strong the other day and it's coming through right now. There's also something about multiple opportunities, multiple choices. Which I know I'm in that spot right now, and every time I feel like I'm given multiple opportunities or chances at something or whatever it is, especially if it's not the exact thing that I thought I wanted, I really do try and take my time and just, I always set the intention. If it's meant for me, let it flow easily. If it's not, let it fall away. And I try not to like jump in to a decision if I'm still feeling a little bit hesitant. Now, with that, the rune Tiwaz came through multiple times yesterday. But interestingly, when I was trying to take notes of Tiwaz, I kept writing Tiamat. And I was like, the rune is not called Tiamat. Why do I keep writing that? And I was reminded of Tiamat. So the planet of Mars is really significant here. Masculine Mars charge. I'm going to get into that in a second, but I was just reminded. So I've been working a lot with like feeling safe and body stuff. So there's something about when I started this fast, I sat with my body for a moment and I was speaking to all the layers and parts and just letting everyone know that we're going to be doing it fast and it's not out of survival. And I was reminding it that we're all safe and, you know, I trust it to do what it needs to do, to declutter, change over anything it needs to change over, release, all the things to do that weren't outside. And as soon as I did that, like, and I like kind of was waving my hands over my body, my stomach did this little gargle, like, I don't know, it was so funny. It just felt like such a like direct communication, like, all right, got the clue, like, we got it, we're good. I don't know. I just want to share that because sometimes like these seemingly little things that we can easily just ignore feel like when you're really someone who's like refined this practice of subtle communication. And yeah, so that could just be for maybe someone out there. Again, this is not promoting fasting, this is just how the energy's coming through, but please take it how it like it fits for you. Okay. So Tiamat. I did it again. I meant to say Tiwaz, but I'll get into Tiamat in a second. So the Tiwaz rune, it looks like an arrow up, is the 17th rune. It's funny because I saw 1717 today, which 17 repeatedly generally taps me into the Pleiadian constellation. So there could be Pleiadian undercurrents coming through. Representing the Norse god Tyr, Tyr, Tyr. It symbolizes justice, honor. That word justice has also been coming through like very intensely. And victory. Justice and victory. Justice, honor, victory, and sacrifice. Commonly associated with the warrior spirit and legal victory. Shaped like an upward arrow, it represents a guided star or spear, focusing energy on overcoming challenges through discipline. And this came through like right as I was deciding not only to water fast, but also like really just sit today. I've been like going deeper into meditation again, which I believe like meditation could be anything, you know, like, but sometimes when I'm doing a lot of like collective transmitting and stuff, I'll just feel like I need to like really go into like the inner planes and just be. So when I feel that, I try to honor that. And anyway, so that has also been a part of this. And key aspects of Tiwaz can often be associated with the North Star, which has been coming through so much lately, like Destiny Timelines, North Star, North Node in astrology. I almost said tarot, so the star card in tarot is number 17, so that's also coming through. Aquarius, hope, renewal, restoration. You may be seeing wolves, or maybe you will soon, or just feel associated with the wolf. Six of Wands in tarot, the victory is also coming through. Now, an inverted position of Tiwaz can suggest energy drain, failure, or the misuse of power. Speaking of that masculine Mars energy. Right? Collectively, I'm seeing the Tiwaz rune in my mind's eye like go up and down and like spin in different directions. And so there's obviously a lot of collective misuse of power, I'll say. And of course, looking within ourselves too is always important to see if we have been doing this, even if it's subconsciously. And yeah, there's something really potent about Mars right now, and the energy of Mars, and again that like masculine charge or lack thereof. I just paused on 222 accidentally. So Tiamat is also known as a primordial Mesopotamian goddess of the salt sea and chaos, famously depicted in Enuma Elish as a mother figure who becomes a monstrous draconic antagonist. This is new to me actually. Symbolizing chaos, she spawns monsters to avenge her consort Apsu before being slain by Marduk, who uses her body to create the heavens and earth. So Mesopotamia could be coming up, Mesopotamia, and it's so interesting. I literally never tapped into this before, but earlier today, I'm staying near the sea, and I haven't been there, I guess in like a week at this point, or like a week and a half. So I'm giving myself today to just really take it easy. And then tomorrow I was like, okay, I'm going to the sea, and I put it in my calendar, and then this shows up. So, but it's really fascinating about the monsters, the monstrous draconic antagonist, because there is something about, I was just talking about like looking within ourselves and seeing like if there is anything that needs to be refined or transmuted, alchemized. So yeah, some of you could be really deep into that right now. And this is not like a blame or shame or like you're bad. This is not what I mean. Like, I think a lot of us are born into these inherent structures, you know, and it's up to us if we want to continue with that or not. And so this really feels like for those of us who are like, okay, how can we purify, refine, if that's something that we're feeling attracted to? Yeah. Okay. Now, Tiamat, from a more celestial perspective, is said to be a planet that exploded, or Maldek, and I think I might be confusing Maldek and Tiamat. 22 on the timer. Okay, so in metaphysical and esoteric traditions, Maldek and Tiamat are often regarded as the same or counterpart primordial planet that once existed between Mars and Jupiter before being destroyed, forming the asteroid belt. Right, that's what I was going to say, but I doubted myself. Maldek is typically associated with the planet's physical iniquity? I don't know this word. Iniquity, and eventual explosion, while Tiamat is viewed as the, quote, dragon queen or 5D conscious and positive counterpart. Oh, okay, so I did know that. It's been a while since I've tapped into this. Forgive me. But it's kind of like Earth, Gaia, like the different realms of interdimensional planes within a planet from a consciousness perspective. And positive counterpart, highlighting a story of planetary division and fall. So it said Maldek is described as exploding due to the misuse of, quote, terrible hydrogen power, leaving debris in the 3D asteroid belt. Tiamat is described as a, quote, dragon queen, a reptilian humanoid entity of high intelligence, 50 to 60 feet tall, who was a merciful ruler, sometimes associated with the Sirius-based white solar queens. Okay, this is interesting. Ooh, I just got chills in my left arm. So, speaking of, it's interesting this is all coming through because when Tiwaz came through, I had to look it up, but I was already tapping into the energy of Maldek and Tiamat and Mars. So I could feel all of this before I actually looked up the meaning of Tiwaz. Even though anyway, so when I get that sort of like incoming information, I try to really pay attention. So in summary, Maldek and Tiamat are often treated interchangeably in alternative history as a, quote, super Earth that was destroyed. However, nuance in these accounts often casts Maldek as the 3D physical corrupted aspect and Tiamat as the sentient 5D energetic aspect of the same destroyed planet. And for any alleged planet or plane, like Mintanka, they say the same it has been destroyed, but then there's others who say, well, maybe on a physical level, but it still exists etherically or in other realms. So that's just an example. So there's something about that. Like if you're feeling like I'm just being brought back into like the present moment right now. And there's something about tapping into whether you believe these things to be like factual and literal or metaphorical or both. There's something about the renewal of the etheric templates. Let me back up. Not necessarily the renewal of the etheric templates, but tapping into the 1444 on the clock, renewed. The restoration, if you're alchemizing something, and tapping into the etheric templates for renewal. And then, of course, taking the steps, resources, places, spaces, things that show up physically to assist with that. So it's like going within with these etheric energetic templates, almost like, I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm not being shown one right now. So if you feel like you're having physical body issues, it's like, okay, how can I tap into a version of myself, that is already has the answer, the clues, what I need type of thing, and then bringing that back down and trusting the process and the time and what starts to show up for you, what starts to fall away. So some of you could already be doing this and some of you may be stepping into that, but that is what I'm feeling. I may do like I'm pretty sure I'm feeling for Patreon on Overflow on Patreon. A little bit of a deeper dive into some of the ascension mechanics especially regarding Maldek, Tiamat, and anything that sort of weaves in with that. And then I'll probably lead into a sort of guided astral journey, like decluttering from a space of love instead of fear or survival. So I'm not sure I'm going to call it that exactly, but that's like the undertone of what I was feeling. Somewhat like the example that I gave of how I prepared my body with communication, something similar. So yeah, this went not at all where I thought it was going, but here we are. So thank you very much. Oh, I'm back. I was about to upload and I was reminded about the Mars Tiamat Maldek Tiwaz like taking action. So speaking about being perhaps at like a decision, not being able to make a decision on something or not really having all the information yet. But this feels like what can you take action on? And like for me, like I mentioned, it was tuning back into myself and starting a fast. Did you hear that car outside or engine rev up? So yeah, this is like not necessarily just avoiding action or decision making, but what is it that is calling you to take action in some way, even if it's like a small step of some sort. But yeah, I wanted to add that in. And I'm also trying out a different thumbnail. I'm working a little bit more with like AI art, which I was never really wanting to do, but I'm just experimenting to see how I feel about it. So the thumbnail may change. But yeah.